Hey everybody, it's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to go into the college games for tomorrow. We could do a brief recap. Tonight we did as good as we could really hope, to be quite honest. This one's still in play, this Jazz Suns one. Of course, we got the Jazz. Plus, I think it moved to one. I think I got them at 1.5, basically a money line game. So it's looking pretty good, but you never know. Uh, and again, I might be wrong, but the reason I think the Jazz, in my opinion, do win this game, look at Cameron Payne, okay? Now, he just played against the Warriors, who admittedly have a bad defense, but he went off, he did whatever he wanted, and Booker did as well. But for some reason, this game, Payne just decided he didn't want to try and score. I didn't really watch the game, but again, you don't really need to watch it to see he just wasn't efficient. He took 5 shots, so who knows? Maybe they pull it out. But to me, either way, it's just very interesting that Payne can be that bad and then that good. And that's why I feel like we're going to be good with the Suns all year, in my opinion. And again, you never know. Suns could pull it off. But I think we have a pretty good idea over how these players are playing and why the Suns were even odds here, basically, against the Jazz. And they shouldn't have been. Warriors, same story. I went over in my last video that, and again, the Knicks might make a flurry, but probably not. They want to, again, enforce that the Warriors are a playoff team. They're still the gatekeeper of the West, but only at home. On the road, all gloves are off. Anything could happen. So now these two are looking good. And we still have some game play here, but Heat Warriors Wizards is, I'll take it. Okay, so if you don't know, this one. Last night, Jimmy, as you can see, it moved all the way to 7.5, which, you might wonder, oh, okay, well, maybe people are going to be taking the Heat with that many points, even without Jimmy. But when I looked at it and I was explaining to you guys, Duncan Robinson wasn't playing either. So without Duncan, without Jimmy, without Bam, without all these players, like you literally had 7 guys play the entire game. I think a lot of people, when they saw that, were still thinking the Heat are going to get blown out. So I don't think the 6.5, I brought up that possibility, but like I said, I had already decided I was going to play that metric. Here again, you just don't. It just doesn't happen. I mean, maybe very, very infrequently. You just won't have teams just start off this bad against the spread. So you see Miami now has updated, and I went over this in my last video. I don't think it's a coincidence. So Miami and Dallas, another one who I picked, basically both covering a spread. Dallas or Memphis, Golden State, all at the same time. Okay, so this gets them, and we don't know if Golden State's definitely going to cover, but they probably will. But my point is, this moves them all to where it's a more acceptable range, at least in that 30% column. Who's the one that's not the Lakers, right? They're sitting here at 23% against the spread. Like I had said in my prior video, I think when they win, they will win big. So this could be a night they do it. I haven't even checked the score. For all I know, they're getting blown out. But my point is, that's why I like Miami so much. It's more the metric than it is the players. As you know, it has nothing to do with the players. If it did, it wouldn't have been a 1-point game. Miami would have got blown out. Golden State, Memphis, same story, and Dallas. They haven't updated them yet, but now they will move to 4-10-1 against the spread. And that one was another shady one because they were just getting so many points. Even without Joker, the Nuggets have proven to be a formidable team. So that one's final. Dallas, see, they needed that home showing. Now I might not play them for a bit, but I was going to keep playing them until they got that home showing. We did really good today. We hit the under here on the Celtics. Again, same metric. It's one I'm going to keep using because if I'm not here to make a video, you guys can just go to this metric. So Boston was the highest, and you can see both teams very high against on the over this year. Two of the 5 top overs. So of course that doesn't hold all year. That was the reason I picked the under for that game with the Pelicans and the Celtics. So these were all simple metrics. Some were narratives. The one that was narrative that did go our way. Again, honestly, I don't think we didn't miss a game tonight as far as the NBA goes, which is nice. There's nights we don't do as well. And again, we still have a lot of basketball to be played here. So I'm not saying that one's a win. I'm just saying it's looking to me like one that the Jazz pull out. And as of yet, we have yet to lose. But this one was a nice one because both of these teams, it's important that we have a read on them. And to me, the biggest thing coming into the game was it was going to be Giannis without stars versus Harden without stars. But the difference is, while you have your Bobby Portises and your guys for who else do they have? I don't know who else they have, to be quite honest. They got I think Grayson. I think he played. Grayson played. So they got Grayson. Okay, they got Serge, and Bobby Portis is really their main other guy. Brook, he's like I mean, you know what you're gonna get from Brook Lopez. But when you don't have Drew, they did have Drew. Those sneaks. I'm surprised they didn't win the game, to be quite honest. But as I had explained before, in many cases, as you see, it didn't start. In many cases, this actually might be a trend we could watch going forward. When a player returns in his first game back, it happened with Jackson Jr. against the Pelicans, but the Grizzlies, they'll play about 20 minutes, and they'll be pretty inefficient, and they're not going to play the same defense that they normally do, and they're going to not really press it. So Drew probably played. I'm guessing he wasn't much of a difference maker, though. And again, while you can see some shots were spread around, when you have Giannis taking 5 threes, again, this looks like a game where it's mostly all Giannis with a little bit of help. Whereas on the other side, as I had said earlier, I thought Tobias Harris would play, but he didn't. But PJ Tucker, I was watching in and out. Even though it looks like he did nothing, this guy's always creating havoc in the lane. This guy's always... There's a reason he plays as many minutes as he does. Real or fake, this guy makes a difference. So I really did like, seeing that early. And then you can just see, Melton did what he needed to do. Maxey's that guy that he can come up and score 30 on any given game. It's just a matter of when Harden and Embiid are in and they got other guys going, Tobias Harris. Maxey doesn't quite see the minutes. But he reminds me of Cameron Payne, Poole for the Warriors. One of those guys that can just step in and really, whenever he really wants to, Dinwiddie for the Mavs, and be a star. So that's why Harden being down to me wasn't a deal breaker. But this is a potential playoff matchup. And I didn't watch the whole game, but I bet you they pushed the narrative. Oh, we'd love to see this with 2 healthy teams, with Harden and Drew, and healthy Drew, completely healthy Drew, and Chris Middleton back. So we're going to have more games with these. I think they play again this year. But yeah, that's the reason I did like Philadelphia. So without belaboring all that, we'll go into the college games for tomorrow. There's not much to go into for college college basketball. Basically, we opened the day with a nice third leg win with UMBC beating Lafayette. And then we were able to catch this one. We have a leg 2 on for the Jazz because Georgia did lose. I had Georgia covering. They did not cover. So we have Jazz leg 2. The Baylor under did not hit either. So we're going to have a leg 2 for that one tomorrow. So that's why I was showing you guys these. So for the ones we missed, we'll be able to go into for leg 2s of football tomorrow. I'm almost positive Boston College was up pretty big, so they should hold. Sixers, we can update this one now. So this one we don't move on from. This one we got by, again, a point, which is definitely not a coincidence. And like I said, the NBA yesterday, college basketball really came through for us. Today we did pretty good with college, but it was really, this one's looking like I won't win. Same with this one. And yeah, that's the rest of them. So, because we're not playing the Lakers. So anyway, yeah, the in my opinion, the NBA really came through big for us today. And I expect, and I think Tulsa is about 50-50 right now. We got them minus 13. Last I checked, they were up 8. But yeah, USF has crappy defense, so really good chance Tulsa covers there. That's a leg 2. But going into college, there's a couple games that I do really like, and they're for one reason or another. And the biggest one I like here is, again, fading TCU. I actually thought Baylor were favorites, But then I guess the line flipped or something. Let me see. 2 points. Okay, I thought I saw Baylor as 4-point favorites, which made no sense. I'm guessing TCU might have been 4-point favorites. But either way, this is for Vegas to be basically saying this is an even game. I'm not buying it. Again, 8-1-1. Do they go 9-1-1 against the spread? It's possible. But again, they've been covering a lot of spreads. I think the public's going to be all over them. They're just looking at an undefeated, top-ranked team that's probably going to get in the championship versus a 6-4 team, and they're seeing even odds. Your most bettors, in my opinion, are going to be all over TCU. So for a second leg of we missed the Baylor under, so I think it's fitting we'll pick Baylor again, right? We're going to go ahead and take Baylor +2. Now, this is one to keep your eye out for. If you see the line move to 1.5, there might be a reason. Again, if the line moves to 2.5, there might be a reason. So I always watch these. I try not to lock my picks in too early, but you also don't want to be too late, and then next thing you know, you're not getting any points. Because like I said, I think this one swung. I could be wrong, though. And this will be about to win 49. But yeah, I do like Baylor to cover here. I think, to me, it's just a game where way too much money is going to be on TCU. I think also they need a reason to knock TCU out of the tournament. And I think it's because, again, they're not a draw. The underdog story is cool, but I went over it in my Discord with somebody how they did it with, Cincinnati last year, and it didn't really work out. So I think they want the best 4 teams in there. And, again, I have money on Tennessee, so I do want them in there. But ahead of them, I think USC is going to get the nod. So for TCU to get it in, essentially, they'd have to definitely win this game and they'd get in. But if they lose the game, then you're looking more like USC, Tennessee, Ohio State, and Georgia, which is, to me, a much more appealing draw for the playoffs. Having TCU in there along with Tennessee, I just feel like I like Tennessee, but I think people want to see some explosive teams. And as much as I like Tennessee, they've been pushing Caleb Williams and USC really hard. So I think they both get in because I think TCU loses. But at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked if they won. I really do like the metric that they don't continue undefeated against the spread, or not undefeated, but 9-1-1 against the spread. And I also feel like they're not going to have this many undefeated teams rolling into the final week. So to me, it's a perfect game for them to drop. And then what I do, obviously, is I always go to my metrics here, and we're going to be taking the under on Houston because if you remember, and I think I went over this before, as far as Houston, I had we've taken them a few times now. We've taken the under because, again, 9-1. The odds of them finishing higher than 90% just typically does not happen. So the same logic could hold it for Memphis and Rice. But one of those teams probably will finish, in that category. You just typically don't see it with multiple teams. So this one I'm going to, again, it's not as much the number. I don't really care what the number's at. We're just taking the under on Houston, the official ESPN under. So make sure you get the closing under. That's what's important because that's the metric they go by. So you might not think it matters, but then go look at the over-under on the Celtics game. That was just a half point, and it does matter. So 67.5, if it closes at 68, then that'll be it. If your book is at a different number, then just try and line it up the best you can. But Houston under 67.5, I like a lot here. I'll put it as a new sequence, but let's just assume California doesn't win because it's going to be a second leg. I'll just do Houston football so people know. I mean, I have so many sports going on now that I feel like, I think it was, 67.5? Yeah. That I feel like I have to elaborate a little bit. But yeah, so this one I like as a second leg. Between what we have outgoing, we're going to be at a second leg on one of these. So I'm going to go ahead and make Houston under my second leg. And as far as the TCU Baylor game, that's also going to be a second leg. So the two that I like right off the bat is, again, TCU fading them. So I do like Baylor, and I like the under on the Houston game. Now, Rice has gone over a lot this year as well. So I look at this game, we got a 56.5. It just seems like a game where people are going to be really picking the under. I'm sorry, the over, because they've gone over so many times. So when I see that, we see Rice is 8-2. We could, between them and Memphis, I think it at least splits. So I do like the under here as well. I think Rice goes under. I don't like it as a second leg just because the metrics aren't as good as Houston, where they're 9-1, that 90%, which is just less probable that they actually do finish with the over this weekend. But Rice, again, still 8-2 is still very improbable for them as well. So I do like the under here, and this is going to be a first leg. Now, people have asked me to play Miami. Here's the thing. With the over-under metric, yeah, we have to remember there are going to be teams that do finish with a couple, because there always are a couple teams. So that's why I faded Tulane, didn't work out. I faded TCU. We'll fade Connecticut because 10-2 is a pretty strong, for 3 teams to be there is pretty, in my opinion, improbable. And then if we go to the bottom part, Tulsa's looking pretty good right now. And a lot of people are telling me about Miami. And I'll tell you, we will take Miami to cover against Clemson for the simple reason, I watched Colorado this year. I've watched Stanford. They can explain away them not covering spreads. They have just been awful. But on the other hand, in my opinion, Miami, their offense has been awful, but their defense has been pretty good. They've actually hung in there in certain games. So I do like Miami, Florida, to cover. They play, I believe someone said, Clemson this weekend, and I think they're getting like 13 points. So since Clemson, right now, they're essentially out of any kind of chase, it would make sense to me that there's them finishing by beating Miami by 19 points, in my opinion, makes no difference here. They're not going to get into the Final Four. So I do like Miami to cover this spread, 19 points. And again, since it's a metric one, we're going to be going with exactly what Miami football ESPN has, which is 19. Okay, so if your sportsbook's 18.5, I would just recommend matching it up with ESPN's closing spread. And so we'll wait to see what it closes at. It should probably close. It was at 17.5, so it is moving up a little bit. So it might move back down. We'll have to see. I do like this one as a second leg because, like I said, of all the teams that are left, really bad. Sorry about that. Really bad against the spread. I think Miami is one of the most probable to cover. So again, it's not a ton of games. Some of these, again, the narratives are going to be interesting, but I tried to stick to the ones that, in my opinion, make the absolute most sense. TCU losing makes sense to me. Again, UConn, as you can see, 9-2 against the spread. So I like Army in this game. We got Army. We're giving 10.5 points. That's fine. We'll do this as a fresh sequence. And again, these games tomorrow, any of these games that I picked, if one loses, you can always go ahead and make the next one a leg too. So you can, if the 12 o'clock TCU game, which I think will be fine, doesn't work out, then you can always double down on Miami, vice versa, just depending on when the teams play. But here I do like Army minus 10.5, whatever the metric winds up being, because I just don't think UConn starts 10 and finishes 10-2 against the spread here. Or I think there's still another week to go, so we can always fade them again next week too. So this will be about to win 23. And again, just make sure I think it's best you make sure that the line matches up with the official ESPN line. So just to go through it, we got the under on Houston, which we've done a few times already. We do have Miami covering. We do have Army covering. We have Baylor covering, of course. And I do like the under on Rice. So we got quite a few games. Like I said, today we did a bunch of games. It did work out. But you never know, so you just want to make sure we're never doing too many at a time. And there are a couple, like I said, I don't want to go into every single one of them. It'll just take me a while. But any of these ones that we didn't get today, Florida State played today. Boston College played today. But I don't think Arizona State did. UNC didn't. Mississippi State didn't. Princeton didn't. Yale. So there's a lot of these teams that meet these metrics. If you see, take, then you can go ahead and play that one. If you see fade, that's who I'm fading. But I don't want to go into every single game. There's going to be dozens, and it's just going to take forever. So my metric on that, though. As far as college goes, those are the teams that I like. Those are the only ones left with a metric that I can really work with that at the same time, in my opinion, also fits a narrative. So I can add some more games. Like I said, the first one's obviously not going to be that we're playing, at least until noon. So if I notice any more games, I'll definitely update them, and I could do another video. I'll also be going into basketball, of course. Like I said, the college basketball, there's so much of it going on, and so all over the place. That's why I just basically showed you my picks. But for tomorrow's, we have time, so that's good. I can tell you there's a couple games here that almost everyone's actually going to be a good game, except the Magic Pacers probably. So it should be a good game tomorrow. And right now I'm just focused on the metrics. And so fading UConn, again, I think a lot of people are going to take them just with the logic that Army sucks. And UConn's been pretty good this year. So I didn't want to go all over the place, but I wanted to cover up the sequences that we're at, go over the games. Like I said, even if it finishes out with the Suns winning and a couple other ones don't go our way, we had a really good day, which we've been getting back on track in that regard. We had a couple bad ones, but as far as the narratives go, I'm glad we're over the target with the Sixers. It seems like, at least with the Bucks, you can see the chinks in their armor now with it just being really Giannis. The Mavs got their home showing. I don't think it's a coincidence the Celtics was just a point under when the public was probably all over the over. So a lot of these, the Warriors at home, just looking like we're getting a good read on these teams and the narratives being pushed around them. And that's always good because it just makes it a lot easier going forward, especially as some of these teams, like the Lakers, a few others, still abysmal records against the spread. Or teams with really good records, like the Kings right now. Or not the Kings, the Jazz. I think they're 12-3 against the spread. So we'll fade them the next game. This game we like them because of the trap. But the next game, because of their record against the spread, along with the Blazers. And actually, I think they might even play each other. So that'll be interesting. Two of the top teams against the spread playing each other. But I just wanted you guys to know the importance of the metrics. Today was a perfect example. Another day of really not looking into the games outside of the Sixers game and the Warriors a little bit. Just playing the metrics. Yesterday was all basketball metrics, and as far as college, we went 3 for 3. And today, I think we played about 7 college games and hit 4 of them, and maybe 5, depending on how this last one finishes out. I think it's the Loyola game. But yeah, everyone, I don't want to make it too long. I just want to never miss anything. And don't worry, I won't be missing any NFL. We'll be definitely hitting that because this is going to be a cool week, especially the mid-season week. I think they want to make it one that people remember certain teams. Certain teams need to win and lose these weeks. We were off with Aaron, but that's good. We can kind of roll out his comeback and look at the other quarterbacks. So I can't wait to do that video. And I'll be doing one more, like I said, tomorrow, in case I missed any college teams. Take care and happy earnings.